Welcome, I'm Trance Channel Riz Mirza. I'll be channeling my spirit guide, Phineas. I'm Phineas, and I greet you in peace. Consciousness is something that you experience, and you are aware on many levels of consciousness. You have categorized this as a subconscious, a higher consciousness, and your earthly consciousness. This organization has become a way for you to navigate the landscape of the reality that you perceive. There are those who are on the planet whom you refer to as savants, autistic, and other terminologies that you overall feel are not the norm. Their capacity to communicate on the levels that you have deemed to be normal are limited. And so they are seen as unaware or unconscious, limited, some state of retardation, and the term itself of retardation has been used in a manner that is hurtful. The children and the adults who are experiencing this type of consciousness, telepathic, psychic, they are those who are free from the limitations of the consciousness and the communication that you are used to. There are more and more of them, it seems, on the planet. Where are these souls coming from? For you to understand, or for you to believe, there must be a foundation upon which you are observing and receiving this information. You are perhaps fond of the scientific method, as you call it. The scientific method proven to you by consistency and a targeted approach to have results that are the same each time. The science, a word itself, which can collapse upon itself. For if it is an effort to understand that which it does not understand, it must be free to understand. It must be free to create a new foundation upon which to see. It shall be difficult for you to understand the nature of psychic experiences, savant behavior as you have called it, or telepathic communication that you are observing in many of the children that you are studying currently. These children are able to communicate non-verbally. They are experiencing and mirroring things that you have technology for. Your social media allows you to group chat. They do not need an application for this. The telepathic communication, which is instantaneous and beyond physical time and space. They are able to communicate and converse with each other. This has been proven by various studies, and more shall come in the coming year. Those who are scientifically trying to approach this, to know why is this happening or how, what is the meaning. Science has been devoid of finding meaning. They run from it. They do not want to know the meaning of something, for they do not believe that there is meaning to anything. And so they are at an impasse To delve further into the study of consciousness, interestingly enough, the scientists themselves must expand their consciousness. And so the very foundation must be shifted. There is a tectonic shifting occurring underneath these so-called rational, logical minds. Why is it so-called logical? Well, if you were to explain that all things are frequency, and that there are frequencies that you cannot hear, such as the animals who cannot hear sounds beyond their capabilities. There are humans who cannot hear beyond their capabilities. And yet, there are sounds that exist. Animal can hear more than the human, and perhaps there are those who can hear more than the animal. To understand is a very slippery concept. To understand consciousness, one must be very flexible and willing to continually stretch and expand, for there is no finite end to it. These individuals who communicate telepathically simply hear frequencies that you cannot. In fact, some of your machines cannot hear these frequencies either. You compare it to a radio signal. That would be a good start for you. And what about precognition? What about the ability to see things, as these children have, that are occurring in another room, or they are reading the thoughts of another person? Again, frequencies. How are they able to see visually things that are not in front of their physical eyes? This has been experienced by many throughout time. Some have called this ability remote viewing, an accurate term. You are often limited by your physical reality, and you are confused or perhaps frightened by that which seems to be outside of it. It is not outside of your reality, these things that you refer to as psychic or telepathic. It is simply that you have not opened your eyes and ears wide enough to perceive them. It is akin to you sitting in a room of your home with the doors closed for your entire life, and to assume that there are no other rooms simply because you cannot see them. So you must get up and explore. Colors are perceived as sound, numbers as colors. The entire language of those who see telepathically is different than your own. Again, the sensitivity to feel the vibration of trees, plants, rocks, crystals. You are beginning to learn that the ancient truths, those of your ancestors, rang and ring true today. Those institutions that wish to study these children, to know how does this happen, they refuse to listen to the shamans and the healers. They refuse to listen to those who are metaphysicians, for their scientific stance prevents them from asking those who say that they do know, for they do not wish to accept that frequencies are perceived beyond their machines. And so they are stuck. They are at the impasse. In order to discover the meaning of this telepathic communication, or psychic phenomenon as they refer to it, they must be willing to accept it first. Then there can be an understanding. The understanding can be told to them simply, but they still will not accept it. Everything is frequency. There is no separation. The more you open up to the field of reality and awareness, the more you shall receive information. You shall see without your eyes, hear without your ears. You are pure sense. Where will this lead to? As society, as the people, as the mass consciousness progresses, they are reluctantly, and some hopefully, and some joyfully, hurtling towards the acceptance of oneness. Though there are many languages, telepathic communication is beyond all of them. Telepathic communication is beyond the speed of light or sound. It is instantaneous. And as the empirical evidence grows day by day, week by week, that the so-called phenomenon of psychic energy is real, the beliefs and the foundations of many shall be challenged. They shall see it as an affront to their idea of creator, against their religious code, and yet it proves the very essence of their doctrine, that source is one and permeates and pervades all. This truth is vague and lost upon them, for they are preoccupied with their prejudgments, their rituals. To free oneself, one must surrender and stay open. And to surrender and to stay open would mean that you trust in your existence, to not fear your extinction, to know that you are eternal, and to know that there is always more. These souls that are coming into incarnation on your planet at this time are here for you. They have come as a service for you to dive deeply into understanding, for you to use your love and compassion, to understand them, to care for them as they navigate this physical reality, to understand their form of communication so that you may understand your own true form of communication, which is telepathic. You did not know language when you were born, and yet your entire being was robust with communication. You were not frustrated by your lack of learning the words of your particular language of your culture. No. Your eyes were alive and vital. Your pulse and the rhythm of your essence beats with a life force that is surrendered, open, and not at all self-conscious. Aware is more like it. Your true essence is that you are a psychic being. The psychic energy we are referring to includes precognition, includes feeling into all situations and things as frequency, though you have reduced it to the idea that psychic means fortune-telling. Many can, for they are able to see where the energy is going. But this shall become a thing of the past. For the more you suffer in your three-dimensional navigation, you will understand that you, to achieve happiness, must then surrender to the wider dimensions, more dimensions than simply three. And when you go through the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 12th, and perhaps 500th dimension, you shall then tire of this number system and surrender to all is one. just as the rooms of a home are all one, and you will then feel at home within yourself. And that is why they have come to show you that they are not only in there, the children we are referring to, whom those who have studied them and written them off as never being able to be normal in this lifetime. They are discovering that they are not only in there, but they are out here. And in many ways in you as well. For they do not see separation. And they have come to teach you as such. Hello, hello, everyone. I've come to talk to you about the Telepathy Tapes. This is something that I discovered recently on YouTube. There's a podcast by this name, and I hope that you'll check it out, that is documenting the psychic telepathic abilities of highly autistic children. And these children can range anywhere from 5 years old to 17, 18, 19, 20. We are referring to those who were diagnosed at a very young age. And this has been happening in many, many different countries around the world, where parents have been experiencing that their kids are reading their minds, quite simply. They are thinking of something, and the child then is able to use what is called a letterboard. It's a device or an iPad where they have learned how to type in what they are hearing. And I highly recommend that you go and listen to these tapes. It was very interesting for me, and as a psychic medium and channeler, I'd like to share with you what I feel is going on. The wonderful documentary filmmakers and the mental health professionals who are all trying to help these parents and children, they're doing a very, very noble thing. They do not come from a background of mysticism or shamanism or experiences as a psychic medium. For myself, I have been experiencing psychic phenomenon since I was 7 years old. If you read some of my history just very quickly, I have been a professional in the field for close to 25 years. I've done thousands of readings with a lot of accurate predictions, a lot of accurate, detailed information. Someone comes for a reading, and I'll give them a very specific piece of information, whether it is a name of a person, a date of someone, or the meaning the birthday or the death date, or how they died, or very specific information about their home or anywhere in their life. And this happens when there is a talented medium. And I say this so that you understand my approach as a shaman who leads sacred ceremonies. I've led over 2,000 of them. And I have been teaching that frequency and energy is the nature of reality. And this will explain what is happening with these children. One of the people who's worked on with these wonderful telepathy tapes, again, I feel it's wonderful, but they do not have the background spiritually in this way to understand it, because they keep asking, well, what is happening? And that they're looking for funding to find out what's happening, as if they need millions of dollars. But what's interesting is that they won't even ask the shamans or the psychics. Here they are finding proof of psychic ability. They're finding proof of telepathy. And yet they do not go to those who have been talking about it for many, many years, thousands of years. But then there are those who are still alive whom you can talk to about it. Everything is simply frequency. The entire fabric of reality vibrates and pulses. There are sounds that my dog can hear that I cannot hear. If you watch some of my channeling here, you'll see that even the spirit guides have been talking about that. And again, look what I'm referring to as my empirical evidence is the spirit guides and the channeling ability. I believe that these kids have come here so that people can start to really understand, people who are on the fence about channeling and psychic work, to understand that this is real. And as we begin to dive deeper into this study of these kids, these autistic kids, we will begin to see that this has been part of humanity for so long. So since that's the answer, quickly, you don't need millions of dollars of funding to understand that everything is frequency. And since the dog can hear frequencies I can't hear, these kids, along with psychics, hear things that other people cannot hear. And so this information is flowing through the air, you might say, all the time. It exists. Just like you're sitting at home right now, there's tons of radio signals flying through your room, through the room you're in, above your house. And only with a radio can you dial into 98.7, 92.3. You can get the radio station by that antenna. Now, these kids have an antenna that is off the charts. They're able to see what is written down on a piece of paper or a random number generator from another room. They're in one room and they can tell what number is being written on an iPad. They can describe a picture. So they're able to see beyond what's in front of them physically. And a lot of them have direct 10 out of 10 times they can read the thoughts of another person. So go check out the telepathy tapes. They're fantastic. There's many, many videos where they're detailing the experiments. I just wanted to come out here and tell you guys that we're seeing a great movement happening in the world, and through these wonderful children and their wonderful parents and the wonderful people who are studying this, we're going to see this expansion of consciousness, because you cannot deny it. The testing is rigorous of these kids to see if their telepathic communication is real. And a lot of psychics have been tested as well. I, for one, as a channeler, have had brain scans where they have put the electrodes on my head and the brain activity changes within 10 seconds to such a drastic degree when the spirit guides come through. And I think that they're going to start to understand what channeling is also when they run these tests more efficiently, or I just want to say more open, with more of an open mind. So it's very important for all of us to really understand that as this world is distracting us with all the politics and all of the things that are going on, and they are, and socially, and the celebrity culture and all of that is very, very distracting. We're losing our sense of dropping in to our third eye, our own intuitive abilities. So these souls have come to the planet to help us to reawaken to that. And I want to encourage you to read as much as you can. Drop in with me here on this channel. I'm going to be talking a lot more about it. Orion and I will be talking about this on our Sunday night lives as well. And if you have any experiences you'd like to share, please drop them in the comments below. Give us a like and a subscribe. And we'll see you next time for the next channeling.